Okay,
Hi,
good.
everyone. As you all are filing into the session, thank you for joining us this afternoon at 2 o'clock. We have a great group of presenters this afternoon. Our first person up will be Patricia Ball. She is a manager within the Cobb County Public Library System, and she will be discussing, as the slide says, helping the public to master digital skills. Patricia, I'll let you add anything else you want to that intro. Thank you, guys.
And thank you. Good afternoon. My name, as she said, is Pat Ball, and I'm with Cobb County Public Library System as a branch manager. And today, the title of our webinar, even though mine says Helping the Public Master Digital Skills, is Redefining Digital Literacy for Adult Learners. Oh, my scale. So I'm trying to get my, okay, there you go. So I wanted to start out with first a definition of digital literacy. So digital literacy is the ability to use information and communication technologies to find, evaluate, create, and communicate information requiring both cognitive and digital skills. A digitally literate person possesses a variety of skills, technical and cognitive, required to find, understand, evaluate, create, and communicate digital information in a wide variety of formats. They are able to use diverse technologies appropriately and effectively to retrieve information, interpret results, and judge the quality of that information. They understand the relationship between technology, lifelong learning, personal privacy, and the stewardship of information. They are able to use these skills and appropriate technology to communicate and collaborate with peers, colleagues, family, and on occasion, the general public. They are able to use the skills to actively participate in civic society and to contribute to vibrant, informed, and an engaged community. So with that, the Cobb County Library System received several small grants to work with its public with digital literacy. And it was supported by, PLA and in partnership with AT&T. There were 2 grants, phase 1 and phase 2, and we also got the Affordable Connectivity Program grant as well. And what you see at the bottom is we worked from January until May with the Barbara Bush Foundation. And Ms. Cote will be talking with you about the way we work with her when we get to the end of my presentation. So the grants, both phase 1 and phase 2, require that we use curriculum prepared at the digitallearn.org. The curriculum and resources at digitallearn.org have all that you need to conduct workshops. There are 2 parts to it. There's a public part, and then there's a tools and resources for trainers. If you have public coming in that need to work on their own and they're not able to attend classes, you can point them to the public part where there are short videos and activities, and they can work at their own pace. But also it's good to reinforce workshops that you have taught. And if that public needs some more reinforcement or just want to take some classes over and over again, they can. So the second part is tools and resources. And for trainers, this includes an instructional guide, design document, activity sheets, handouts, PowerPoint presentation, and practice files. All of this is there for free for anyone that want to use it. For the grant, there were specific classes that we had to teach. However, for anyone else going up there, you can use the resources the way you want to. We just had 7 basic classes that we had to teach that was a requirement for the grant. So in phase 1, we received $7,000, and myself, my branch, which is the Stratton branch, and the North Cobb branch participated. As you can see, we both had different public that we tried to reach. So So the North Cobb is located all the way at the north part of Cobb County. I'm somewhere like in the middle. So of course, our audience and our patrons are different. So for my part of the grant, we reached out to the senior center, which is about 2 or 3 blocks from here, and we taught classes there. We also taught basic classes here at the branch. The North Cobb reach was to families and working populations. So when you look at this, you'll see that my classes may have been in the morning on Wednesdays, and for North Cobb, it may have been in the afternoon where they're trying to reach families and a population that is working. So we did also apply for phase 2, and we did get it. And what we did was we included 2 other branches and to teach the digital literacy courses. And so with that phase 2, it was North Cobb, South Cobb, the Stratton branch, and also the Schweitzer branch that participated. And what you see on the side is a flyer with all of our various classes. And as you can see, they were at various times and on various days, and they were according to who we were trying to reach for our community, because we're at very different places in the county, and we all have a different population that we were reaching or trying to reach. So at the end of 2023, after we did the evaluation for Public Library Association, we were approached by the Barbara Bush Foundation, and they wanted us to extend what we were doing to May. And what they did was that they were going to, they trained us to use their guide promoting digital literacy for adult learners. And the guide emphasizes the meeting adult learners where they are. So we participated in that with them, and they provided us with training. And so what I'm going to do is turn over the rest of this to Pam, who will explain to you more about how we work with the guide and how it helped us to reach our adult learners where they are and to help them better with their with what they were trying to do as far as digital literacy. One thing we did notice is as we started teaching the classes that the patrons used to come in and ask for computer classes. By the end, they were asking for digital literacy classes or digital literacy workshops. So that was some difference in some of the ways that we had kind of reached out some of our patrons as far as digital literacy. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Pam Cote, who is going to I'm going to turn it over to her, and she's going to tell you about the work she did with us at the Barbara Bush Foundation. So hold on. So Pam, you're not a host.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and just bear with me for a second. Things are looking a little different. Okay, just tell me if you can see my slide promoting digital literacy for adult learners.
Hey, Pam, we can see it.
You can see it. Okay. And then now tell me if you can see me. Yay, you couldn't see me before.
Success.
So perfect. So you don't need to put your camera on, but I'm going to put my camera on while I chat with you today. So my name is Pam Cote. I'm the Senior Director of Literacy Programs and Partnerships for the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy. We focus primarily on adult and family literacy. And one area that we focused on for the past few years is digital literacy. So I'm going to chat with you today about some of our resources and some of the work that we did with a variety of sites, one of them being Pat's site in Cobb County. I'm not sure if I can see the chat now, but one of the things I always like to do, let's see if I can. No, I can't. So I was going to have you introduce yourself. So if that ever gets turned on and you just want to say where you are located and how you interact with digital literacy, I would love to scroll through that. And if that function isn't working, no worries at all. One of the things that I like to start out by saying in my introduction is that I'm a teacher by trade, once a teacher, always a teacher. And so I've taught upper elementary through adult learners. And I did spend a chunk of my time teaching adult learners and also working in family literacy programming. We're going to keep an eye out for questions to answer those at the end. But I will just say, and I think it's Nichole, no, Angela, who's managing the chat. If something comes up that you think is pressing based on a slide, feel free to interrupt me. I'm okay with that. So we're going to jump right into an activity to kind of set our lens here. And we were going to do this in the chat, but we're just going to do this on a piece of paper in your head. And then I'm going to kind of summarize what I think that you probably listed. So I'd like everyone to just take like 30 seconds right now and list out 10 things you did today that required digital literacy skills. So think about from the time you woke up, anything you did that required a digital literacy interaction. Then I'm going to ask you to take it a step further if you've done that list. And my question is, does that digital literacy activity you did, does that connect to any other types of literacies as well? So health, financial, media, social, anything like that. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to give you about 20 seconds now to do that. Okay, so I'm going to bring us back together and I'm going to guess that you listed things like maybe you sent a text. You certainly had to navigate this conference platform, which required digital literacy skills. You might have done some online banking. Maybe you went into a health portal. Maybe you were on social media. So you can see there's all these different ways you interacted with digital literacy in ways that maybe you hadn't thought about, as well as connecting to different types of literacies. And maybe even as simple as turning off your alarm this morning if it was on your phone as well. So let's keep that lens with us as we talk a little bit about this. And I actually have a question for someone who's helping me man this. I was going to be dropping links in the chat. Am I able to do that? Or do I need to drop them in the chat I'm seeing?
You're
What's that?
You should be able to drop them into the chat if you can see the chat. Yes.
Okay, I think I can see it now. Okay, that was very strange. I couldn't see it before. So we're good to go. Digital resilience is what you're witnessing right now as we go through this, right? And we're going to talk about this a little bit. So what's the challenge around digital literacy? Well, to earn a living and navigate public and social systems, adults across all ages, races, genders, major industries, and most occupations need to continuously develop and apply digital literacy skills. And there was a great report out last year, a little over a year, that shared some recent research that showed that nearly 92% of jobs require at least one digital skill. And that was the report Closing the Digital Divide by the National Skills Coalition. And so if you haven't seen that, I think you're going to find it interesting. So I'm going to put this in. Oh, here we go, everyone. Okay, so you should have that. And if someone can let me know if it didn't go to everyone, I'll try and fix that. And so basically what the report in this research gets at is that there's a need for digital literacy skills across all industries. And so the challenge also becomes thinking about that, but then also the piece around connecting to digital equity, not just when we think about skills, but obviously resources, equipment, etc. So that's part of the challenge. And I'm leaning up to this because I want to talk to you about how the Barbara Bush Foundation got involved in this. So digital literacy, when we think about skills and tools and what they bring to our social mobility, is really about a variety of skills and competencies associated with using technology. So it could be when I talked about you're on your phone and you're doing your alarm this morning or texting. And then of course it's navigational skills. And then it can also include the ability to communicate information digitally and responsibly. And so when we're thinking about digital literacy at the Barbara Bush Foundation, we're thinking about it in ways that people can engage in it for personal and professional tasks as well. So job opportunities, managing health or educational endeavors, and of course for parents and caregivers who are trying to navigate any digital pieces that are coming home from the schools. Digital literacy also connects to digital resilience. And so I just mentioned that a couple minutes ago, but I always like to talk about that, and it's something that we talk about in the guide that I'm going to share with you because it really gets at obviously the awareness and skills and agility and confidence we have to use technology. And I think a lot of times when we talk about digital resilience, or I'm going to be guilty of this a few years ago when I really started digging into digital literacy, we might not always think about really simple ways to share it with someone who might not feel that confident about their digital literacy. But what we know about it is it's as simple as taking skills you have or you might not know you have and transferring them for an end result. And so I always like to use conference platforms when I'm in a Zoom, and I always like to explain it this way. If you are navigating Zoom and conference platforms because you're attending a virtual conference, you know the ins and outs of some of it, but you apply your digital resilience when you are navigating that particular platform. And I had to do that today as well to access the keynote this morning, which was amazing. I don't know if everyone went to that, but I really enjoyed that. So let's talk a little bit about what Pat was mentioning about our digital literacy resources. So the Barbara Bush Foundation became involved in digital literacy a few years ago because we did a national scan on digital health and financial literacy, and we decided to focus on digital literacy first. And one of the things that we found as a gap, or that came out of the scan, as well, there was a lot of information and resources and tools and guides on working with adult learners, mentoring them, working one-on-one, posting the workshops that you all do that are amazing. There weren't a lot of resources out there that focused on that in the context of digital literacy. So we collaborated with Digital Promise to create this guide, which is a framework for working with adult learners in the context of digital literacy, and it's supplemental to a curriculum. So it is not a scoped and sequenced digital literacy curriculum, but it is a guide that touches on adult learning theory and approaching learning from a whole learner framework. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but it's also full of a lot of resources that someone could actually put together a curriculum, or I should say digital literacy skill building activities if you wanted to. So what I thought we would do today is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the guide, and then I'm going to talk with you a little bit about some use cases of how it's been used, but I'm going to really focus on the work that we've done with the public libraries and a recent pilot with AT&T and PLA. So let's just talk about the guide for a minute and talk about some key features. And I forgot to say something here. I wanted to point something out. I'm going to drop a link to the guide specifically. But if you scanned the QR code, I didn't want you to be confused by something. The QR code brings you to our digital literacy page, and the very first link on the page is the guide. And then a little bit down is some free training material as well that supports the guide. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the presentation. So hopefully you scan that. And if not, you have the link now to actually look at the guide. So there's some key features in the guide. I'm going to talk about this and then I'm going to actually go into the guide to show you. There are some pause and reflect questions at the very end of each chapter, sometimes mid-chapter, it's very long. It gives you a chance, if you're new to digital literacy, to really kind of take in the information. It gives you some action options around your own digital literacy learning. There are quick tips on some of the pages because the information can get lengthy. We're really trying to give you a lot of information, and we understand that it's a lot to digest. So the quick tips bring something out and link to a resource that you can actually use with learners. The linking theory to practice, those are specific ideas and some specific learning components around the chapter you're in. And they link to our appendix, which is quite full and has some built out lessons, some that we created, some that North Star, if you're familiar with them, created, and some that they shared with us. They helped do some of the technical review of the guide. And then of course we have field examples and we have resources as well. So I'm gonna pop out of this and I'm gonna go into the guide. And let me go in this way. And I just want you to kind of see, whoops, wow, my mouse is moving really quickly. How you can kind of scroll through this a little bit. We have the table of content, content, it's interactive. And then as you're kind of going through, you'll see some of those key features, the pause and reflect. Let's see, there's a quick tip, and then our first linking to theory and practices on page 13. So the guide and what we're talking about right now, I want to be really open on something here. That normally when I present on the resource guide, I do it over two trainings or one longer one. And for every chapter you see in the guide, there are interactive activities, and it's very much delivered as a professional development opportunity. So you're getting a really fast take on this, and it's going to be a lot of information. And so I'm saying that because if at the end of the presentation, you're thinking, this could really support our work, my email will be in the deck, and feel free to reach out to me and we can kind of talk about your site and how this might help with your programming. So what I'd like you to do now, right now though, is to go to the table of contents if you're in the link to page 4, or you can use the screen because I have a screenshot of it, and just take a look at the chapter titles. And the reason I do this is because the guide was developed for someone that was brand new to digital literacy skill building and working with adult learners to be able to read it from start to finish and then use it as an essential resource and go back to it. And it was also designed for someone who maybe is seasoned in delivering digital literacy skill building, for them to skim through the chapters, maybe some topics they're familiar with, some they want to revisit, and some new ones that they want to really dig into. And so just like we would do if we were in a reading class, because I used to be a reading teacher, I always say to someone with this resource is you want to scroll through it first. You want to understand the key features. You want to look at the appendix and the end of the guide and understand all of the components. And then maybe you want to start right away with chapter 1 and use that first pause and reflect. So I'll suggest that for your own PD as you're kind of going through this. So I'm going to talk about just a few of the chapters because of time, but I'm going to talk about some of the key chapters. Excuse me. So the first one is around factors that impact adult learning. The guide expands on adult learning theory and focuses on a whole learner framework and focuses on learner variability. And that work is very embedded in the fabric of Digital Promise, who was our partner. And so I'm going to share a link with you. And I debated sharing this because I didn't want to cause confusion on sharing another great resource, but it's just too great to not share. So Digital Promise has a learner variability navigator, and you're seeing a screenshot of it on the screen. And basically what they've done is they've taken these 4 key factors for adult learning: adult literacies, cognition, social and emotional learning, and learner background. And they've created an interactive tool. And I know we're going to be short on time to cover everything, but I want to show this to you live so you understand what this does. If you're really trying to do some professional development around adult learning theory and effective approaches and evidence-based approaches and working with adults, this is a great resource. So let's say that you're planning a workshop and you've noticed that one of the things you want to key in on is motivation with adult learners. If you hover over this factor, it's going to show you, it's going to highlight all of the other factors that interconnect with that. And then you can actually click on that factor. You can get information about that factor. You can go down and you can get research-based strategies. So I'm going to click on building empathy because that's something I'm going to be talking about. You could click on that, go to an informational page on building empathy, and then you can click on all of these resources if you want to add to some of your workshops or even for your pre-planning for yourself. So this tool is very much a part of the guide. It's discussed in chapter 2. And I wanted to make sure when you were skimming through that you saw that and that you took some time at some point to explore it more. This slide and this information, factors that impact adult learning, connects directly to learner variability. So learner variability is the recognition that everyone has a unique set of strengths and challenges across a whole learner framework, that are interconnected and vary according to context. So there's no average learner. And the challenge that I know you all face, and I faced as a teacher at times, is when you are hosting your digital literacy skill building workshops, you have people from the community coming in with all different strengths and challenges around maybe how they learn and about how they want to approach digital literacy skill building. So I really encourage you to dig into chapter 2, and I think you're going to get some great resources and information to help support the work you're doing in your communities. And this is something that we spent quite a bit of time on in the pilot when we were working with sites like Cobb County. The chapter 3 defines digital literacy. And so I was really interested today. There have been so many definitions of digital literacy, and we know that to be true. I mean, Pat just shared one, and I think there was one shared in the keynote this morning. I was trying to take some pictures of some of the slides and do some screenshots and everything of all that great information. This definition is from Literacy Minnesota, and it's in our guide. And one of the things that we like to do with this definition in our training is talk about what in this definition do you think matches your understanding of digital literacy? What would you change? What would you add to it? What do you like? So again, kind of always looking for those learning opportunities around digital literacy. But what we deliberately did with this definition is we made it action orientated. And so you see all of the words in bold are verbs, they're action words. And this definition specifically connects to page 16 and 17 in the guide. And so if you look at page 16 and 17 in the guide, you'll see that we've taken these words and we have explored how a digitally literate person might apply these actions in the work that you're doing. And I'm not going to jump to the guide again because I want to be aware of the time and I don't want to give you whiplash between the resources. But what I want to say is if you're in the guide, look at page 16 and 17, and then you're going to see on that page this linking theory to practice. And if you click on that linking theory to practice, you're going to come to this pre-assessment on page 62 in the guide. And I want to spend some time talking about why this was a deliberate part of the guide. After we had the digital literacy definition, we wanted to give people the opportunity, if they were working with adult learners, to one, pre-assess their own skills for that conversation and for that rapport building with their learner or their group of learners. And then we also wanted them to have an opportunity to have a tool to also do kind of a conversational assessment, I would say. And so one of the things that we covered in our training in the pilot, and we always do when we're talking about the guide, is taking this definition, understanding how it connects to a digitally literate person, and then encouraging anyone who's going to be doing some digital literacy training to actually do this assessment on their own to kind of self-assess. And then based on that, determine what could you take about what you learned about your own, digital literacy skills to start the conversation with someone to build that trust and rapport and let them know about your strengths in digital literacy, and then also maybe your challenges around it or your resilience or how you're still learning. But then to also pull out some of these when you're having that conversation and you're starting to understand why they came for the workshop, what their individual goal is, you can weave actually some of these questions in for that kind of that in-person conversational assessment, whether it's with the larger group or it has to be a quick one-on-one with someone that you're talking. And this became a really popular thing. I need a visual for this. It's the Post-it. And so one of the things I said, and then this came out a lot that people were doing this in the workshops, is I encourage that setting and monitoring of goals even within that hour. And so I said, if you're talking to your learners in that first moment, the patrons of the digital literacy skill building, have them think about a goal just for that workshop, have them write it on that Post-it, that it's with them for the workshop, take a strengths-based approach about what they know and build that confidence, revisit that short goal. Maybe the goal is just to have the patients to be within the workshop if they're feeling, uneasy about their skills, to kind of build the confidence to be there, and then have them check in with the goal at the end. That's a very powerful motivator when you're doing digital literacy skill building, and it's something that you can then send them off with a goal because you've introduced it in the workshop. Are there any questions? Because I feel like I'm rolling through a lot of information. And so I know we said we wait to the end, but if there's any questions on that, can you just all let me know in the chat and I'll try to look too?
Pam, I'm not seeing any questions right now, but I'll definitely encourage our
Okay.
participants to please add them if they come up. I'll check on the Q&A as well.
Okay, thanks so much, Angela. Thank you.
Okay.
And then chapter 5 focuses on 6 research-based strategies to support adult learners, but in the context of digital literacy. And so if we have the time today, and I really wish we did, we would spend some time going through this chapter in more detail. And as part of our training, we actually have learner profiles that we do some reading within the section, and then we share learner profiles, and we try to look at different learners and take that learner variability approach, and then what strategies might you use from the guide to support their learning. So just a little tip on that for when I talk about the training materials, the free training materials, because that will be in there too. So let's talk about use cases and how we took this guide and the work that we've been doing in digital literacy and connected with AT&T and the Public Library Association. So I first want to say, when our guide was released in 2021, we did a usability with a variety of sites to get feedback just on the guide. And since then, we've worked with different corporations around corporate volunteering with the guide, and different sites. We had never worked specifically with libraries. And so that's why I was so excited to do this. And so we knew that AT&T was working with public libraries and that free materials had been developed on the digitallearn.org site. And so we wanted to see what happened when those materials were shared together. And then when we shared the guide and we did some training around working with adult learners, and using the Digital Learn site. And so the pilot was really focused on that. And there were 6 sites. There were 3 adult literacy sites. Of those 3 sites, 1 was a classroom model and 2 were set up as one-on-one tutoring. Both did not have one-on-one tutoring digital literacy programs. They had one-on-one foundational literacy programs and numeracy, but not for digital literacy. And then there were 3 library sites. And all of the library sites had been a part of that other grant that Pat had mentioned. And so they were familiar with Digital Learn. And so we took our guide and the digital Learn materials, and those were the shared materials. And I'm going to talk a little bit of those more in detail. Pat mentioned them, and I'm going to apologize if this is something you're familiar with. I don't have that. I should have asked that question and I didn't, but I think it's important for me to overview this so you understand how we shared this with the sites for the pilot. So the first thing we did is we talked a little bit about the tools for learners. And what I didn't know when I was starting this is that most of you focus on the resources that Pat mentioned for the workshops. But we started out by sharing information about these short asynchronous learning modules, these videos that were available in English and Spanish on a variety of topics, and talked a little bit about how these videos could be used for small group learning, for one-on-one sessions, and then with the libraries we specifically worked with, to also say if you were doing a workshop, but remember that goal that person had, if they had the longer goal and it wasn't part of the workshop, possibly sharing these asynchronous modules with them would be helpful for their learning. And so we started out by talking specifically about the tools for learners, and then this site toggles. And so if you're on that site right now, you can just click on tools and resources for trainers. I'm going to drop that link for you though. And the tools and resources for trainers, that's the page that is dedicated towards instructors, and it's course materials for building lessons. And there's lessons and activity sheets and handouts. And what's interesting about this site, and actually what I love about those course materials, the former teacher and me, is they are set up where the actual course is sequenced, and you could take it from the beginning to the end and go through it, and it has all the supporting materials. But if you wanted to, and maybe you couldn't do this for the pilot, Pat, with PLA, so I'm sorry if I'm saying something you couldn't do, but for the sake of the work we did, I encourage people to also kind of go through and pull what you think best fit your learners and supplement if you needed to with any other digital literacy skill activities that you loved and you felt worked and were effective, and also anything from the guide. And so what we asked sites to do is we trained them on the guide. It was 2 sessions. First session was about 2 hours, second one about an hour and a half. And then we met with them about all of the resources, and then we provided technical assistance throughout. So I was reaching out every few weeks to answer any questions about the guide and also the digitallearn.org site as well, if I could answer those. So I wanted to share just a couple visuals. I know I'm talking to libraries today, but this was just too good to not share. This is from one of the adult literacy sites in Michigan. And this is the one-on-one tutoring that they just started. They have a digital literacy program now because of this pilot, which is really exciting. And this particular tutor was talking about how this learner came in and she really just wanted to know how to use her phone and how to use her iPad. And they went with that, but then they actually connected it to real world needs. And now she's using it for health literacy and other meetings. But then I really love what the tutor talks about, that reciprocal reward and reciprocal learning, when she talks about at the end, the opportunity for her as well. So that was too good to not share. And then I want to share, there's 2 pictures here. One is from one of the sites, which was in South Carolina, and then one is Pat's site at the very top, where she was doing some digital literacy workshops. One of the things we did is we did post-workshop surveys, which were optional, and you didn't have to put your name. And we were getting all types of feedback on, we were asking questions like, why are you attending the workshop, and digital literacy skills that they wanted to build. And I was going through the surveys and I came across this one standalone comment on a survey. I honestly, I'm not sure if it was from Cobb County or where it was from, but the person had written to not be left behind in life. And that, it just was so powerful to me. When I think about all of the reasons that people are coming in and they're trying to learn, I think that's a really powerful statement. And I also wanted to share the bottom picture because we are a family literacy foundation, and I just loved that this mom had come in for digital literacy skill building, but it looks like there's other learning going on as well. So I wanted to share both of those. And then I also want to say about the PLA sites. So we worked with a site in Arkansas, South Carolina, and Georgia. Just how impressed I was at the level of knowledge of working with adult learners, and how fortunate I feel to have worked with those sites and to work with Pat and what I learned as well. So kudos
Hi,
for the
Pam. This
amazing
is
work you're
Joy.
doing.
Hi, Pam.
Yeah,
This is Joy chiming in. We
yeah,
have about 15 minutes left in
yep.
this session, so we want to make sure that we get Nichole's presentation in here as well. I just wanted to give you a time check.
Yes, thank you. I thought I had till 2:45. Is that correct? 3 more minutes?
Well, I don't know how long Nichole's part of the presentation is. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I was told 30 minutes. So I can wrap up in a couple minutes. Okay, so early pilot feedback. So we have not finished our evaluation at all. But this is just some information that we received back about the pilot. Most users stated that they had high confidence already in their skills and working with adult learners. Everyone found the guide easy to use. And the reason I mentioned empathy earlier is that of all the strategies that were listed in the guide, the ones that were the most highly ranked were building empathy and setting and monitoring goals. And then some recommendations that came out of this as well. was around the marketing for digital literacy workshops, which Pat mentioned, and really kind of connecting to that relevance, customizing for your community, and then staying very learner focused and strengths based. I'm going to go really quickly through these. And then the last thing I want to share with you is if you are interested in more of this information, this is the link for the digital literacy page. And on that page, but I'm going to give these to you as separate links, you will see the digital literacy, the training materials, that's the facilitator handbook. And then there's 2 training decks. There's one with talking points and one without talking points. And they're all listed as samples, but they're all free. You just have to connect with me about that. So I'm actually done. And I guess we're going to hold questions to the end. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to turn my camera off and I am going to, bear with me. I guess someone's going to have to help me on how I turn that over to
If you
Nichole.
go over to the panelists part of the participants, hover over her name, you should see something that'll
Okay,
you
got
answer.
it. Yep, make host. Okay, Nichole, you should be all set.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let's see if I can share my screen with you. Where is it? Okay. Share. Okay. I think I'm sharing my screen with you all.
Hi, Nichole, we can
Am I
see your
sharing the
screen.
screen okay with you?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am, we can see it.
Okay, all right, wonderful. All right, let's see. And well, I just want to say hello. Good afternoon. My name is Nichole Knox. I'm manager of North Cobb Regional Library. We're a branch in Cobb County Public Library, same system where Pat is. And I just wanted to just give you a little glimpse of how the program worked in my library. So I just had a little intro. Let's see if I can. It's kind of spinning here. I just wanted to kind of introduce you to the library and kind of show you what we were able to do at my branch. My so sorry, let's see, my screen is still spinning. Sure what I did. Okay, let's see. There we go. All right, and so this is just a picture of my library. It's a library in the Kennesaw, Georgia area. You can see we're across the street from a big high school, and we have a big variety of families who come to our library. So this program kind of fit right into our demographic. And I just wanted to show the different areas we have. We have a teen room, community room, we have children's space and community garden. We do have a designated digital training lab, which was so incredible. These classes were incredible for us to be able to focus on digital literacy in this facility. So we were excited to do the courses. This is a picture of Pat because it was her vision to, she focuses on digital literacy a lot in her library, Stratton. And she had a vision to expand it to our other libraries to make digital literacy a priority. So she introduced the partnership with the Barbara Bush Foundation to our library, and we were fortunate to be a part of the phase 1 with her library. We were able to provide for our community. We were able to provide teachable digital literacy lesson plans for libraries. We introduced patrons to digital learning curriculum that was easily available online for free. We were able to identify digital learn needs in our service area and support digital learn workshops with the grant. This is just showing you the different courses that we started off with in our library. Microsoft Word, getting started on a computer, introduction to email, and basic budgets. We were able to start with basic classes to teach our patrons who turned out to be older seniors who were not familiar with computers and software, and people who were hoping to build their digital learn skills. Oh, this is my patron profile. Like I said, patrons re-entering the workspace, patrons with minimal digital learning skills, and workers who are seeking to increase skills to improve chances for promotion. And just wanted to go through our outcomes right quick. We were able to provide teaching and learning resources for our librarians and patrons. We developed relationship with patrons needing to improve those skills and lead them to tools for learning and study. We were able to standardize digital learning classes for our library system by using these resources, which we can go over in the classes, but also send our patrons home with those same resources to use at home. And we were also able to help with the significant community need to build digital literacy skills. And that's the end of my presentation. Just wanted to give you a glimpse of what these programs look like for our branch. And I guess I'm throwing it back to Joy now.
Hello there. Yeah, if there are, first off, just want to thank you all for that insightful presentation. Really appreciate the time that you took to pull it together, and also for Pam from the Barbara Bush Foundation for telling us all of those different ways that, and really interactive in helping people find ways that they also can get up to speed in this digital area. So I appreciate that. I don't see any, I'm looking back in the chat to see if there were any major questions. If anyone does have any questions, we do have a little bit of time. If you have questions and you want to type them into the chat, go ahead and do so. And we can read them aloud and see if any of our panelists will be able to answer them. I'll give that a few seconds here to see if any questions come up. Okay, well, seeing none, as everyone knows, the session has been recorded. It will be available to everyone after, I'd say later this week. It will be available to everyone to access via the SCED platform. Otherwise, thank you, presenters again, and thank you to everyone for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Joy, I wanted to say one thing. I did see one question when someone asked were the resources free? And the resources, all of what you saw is free on digitallearn.org for anybody that wants to use it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering that. Okay, everyone. Well, have a good rest of your afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.